The hunt begins. Eric ran through the thick swamp with his 5-year-old daughter Mia, held tightly in his arms. The air was heavy with mist. Tall, twisted trees reached toward the sky, their roots curling over the wet ground. Somewhere behind them, sharp clicking sounds echoed. The bounty hunters were getting closer. "Hold on, Mia," Eric whispered, his voice trembling. "Just a little more." Mia's small face was pressed against his chest. She didn't speak. She knew better than to make a sound. They had been on the run for hours. Ever since the Varnock, a brutal alien race, had landed on their planet, humans had become prey. Eric and Maya were among the few who had escaped the first attack. Now, the Varnock hunted them for sport. Eric's legs burned, his breath short. He glanced over his shoulder. Faint red lights flickered through the trees. The Varnock scouts were near. He had to think fast. Suddenly he spotted a shallow, muddy pool beneath a thick wall of tangled roots. An idea sparked in his mind. A desperate one. "Mia," he whispered, kneeling by the mud. "Listen to me, sweetheart. I need to hide. You here, I'll come back, I promise." Mia's eyes widened in fear. "But, Papa..." "No time," Eric said, trying to stay calm. "This mud will hide your scent. They won't find you." He gently lowered Mia into the cool mud, coating her small body and hair. She shivered but stayed brave. Eric placed her, under the roots, covering her with leaves and more mud, leaving only a tiny space so she could breathe. "Stay very still," he said softly. "No sound, no matter what you hear." Tears welled in his eyes as he kissed her forehead. Then he forced himself to stand. He had to draw the hunters away. If he was caught, they might not search here. Eric took one last look at the hidden spot. "I love you, Mia," he whispered, voice breaking. Then he ran. Deep in the shadows, someone watched. A tall figure in a dark cloak stood silently among the trees. His name was Kale, an alien unlike the Varnock. His face was partly hidden beneath the hood, eyes glowing faintly blue. He had been following the chase unseen. Kale's heart stirred when he saw the father cover his child in mud to save her. Such love. Such courage. It reminded him of something he had lost long ago. Kale's gaze shifted to the approaching Varnock. They were cruel hunters. He clenched his fists under the cloak. He had promised himself never to interfere again. But this was different. Meanwhile, Eric sprinted through the swamp, crashing through branches to make noise. The red lights followed him. The Varnock scouts moved fast, their long limbs cutting through the trees. One hunter clicked a command. 2 broke off the chase and circled back, toward the spot where Mia was hidden. Kale's sharp hearing caught this. His eyes narrowed. He moved through the trees without a sound. Mia lay still under the roots, heart pounding. She heard distant footsteps. Branches snapped. The ground shook faintly. Then, silence. Suddenly, a low growl came from nearby. Mia bit her lip to keep from crying out. A shadow fell over her hiding place. Claws scratched the roots above her, but before the Varnock scout could tear through, a soft whoosh cut through the air. There was a thud, then another. Silence again. Moments passed. Mia dared to peek through a tiny gap. A hooded figure now stood there. "Kyle." He crouched, gently brushing mud from her face. His voice was deep, calm. "Little one, you are safe for now," he said. Mia stared at him, unsure whether to trust him, but the kindness in his eyes was clear. Kyle looked toward the forest where more Varnock might be coming. He had to move fast. "Your father is brave," he said softly. "He risked everything for you. Now, I will help." With great care, he lifted Mia into his arms, wrapping her in part of his cloak. She clung to him, still trembling, as Kale moved. Through the forest, he glanced back. The swamp was quiet again, but danger was not over. Many hunters still searched. Above them, dark clouds gathered. Thunder rumbled. Kale quickened his pace. Deep underground, he knew of a place where they could hide. But would they reach it in time? And what had happened to Eric? The hunt was far from over. The stranger, The forest was dark and silent except for the low rumble of distant thunder. Kael moved swiftly, his cloak wrapped tightly around Mia. The little girl shivered in his arms, her muddy face resting against his chest. Though her body trembled, her eyes remained wide open, watching the shadowed world around them. Kael's mind raced. The Varnock scouts would soon realize some of their group had gone missing. They would come searching again. He had to reach his hidden shelter before it was too late. He glanced down at Mia. "You must be very quiet, little one," he whispered. "We are not safe yet." Mia nodded faintly, too exhausted to speak. Kael was not a man easily moved. He had lived alone for many years, far from the wars and bloodshed that once consumed his life. Once, long ago, he had fought for peace between the species. But when the Varnock invaded, he had seen too much death. He chose exile. Yet now, here, he was risking everything for a human child. Why? Because when he watched the father hide his daughter in the mud, something inside him had stirred. An old wound reopened. He would not let the Varnock take another innocent life. The path grew, steeper as Kael approached the rocky cliffs at the edge of the swamp. Behind these cliffs was the entrance to an ancient underground structure, a forgotten human resistance base. Kael had discovered it years ago and made it his refuge. As he neared the cliff wall, he pressed his palm against a hidden stone. A faint hum sounded. Part of the rock shifted, revealing a narrow passageway. Kael slipped inside just as faint red lights flickered in the forest behind him. The stone slid shut. Darkness surrounded them. Kael tapped a small device on his wrist. Dim lights activated along the tunnel walls. "You are safe here," he said softly to Mia. He carried her deeper into the tunnel until they reached a small chamber filled with old supplies, blankets, food packs, and faded human gear. Kael set Mia down gently. He fetched clean water and a cloth, wiping the mud from her face and hair. Mia looked up at him, voice trembling. Where is Papa?" Kael met her gaze. "He is alive, captured perhaps, but alive." He paused. "Your father loves you very much. He risked everything to protect you." Tears welled in Mia's eyes. "We were running. They were chasing us." Kael nodded. "I saw. You were very brave." Outside the stone door, faint thuds echoed. The Varnock were nearby. Kael's senses sharpened. He moved silently to the entrance, listening. A deep voice spoke in the alien tongue. "The human child was here. Search the area." Kael's jaw tightened. They were close. He returned to Mia and knelt beside her. "We must stay very quiet, no sound." Mia nodded, clutching his cloak. The Varnock voices grew louder, boots crunching on leaves just outside the hidden door. Kael's hand hovered near, his blade. He would not let them take her. Minutes passed like hours. Mia's small fingers gripped Kael's hand. Then, a sharp noise. One of the scouts struck the cliff wall, testing for hidden doors. Kael held his breath. Outside, another scout barked an order. "No trace. Move on." The sounds faded. Silence returned. Kael exhaled slowly. The danger had passed. For now. He turned to Mia. "You are safe, little one. But your father, I must find him." Mia's eyes shone with hope. You will help Papa?" Kael hesitated. Part of him had wanted to stay hidden forever away from war. But now, he couldn't turn away. He nodded. "Yes, but it will be dangerous." Mia surprised him by standing, face determined. "I want to help." Kael placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have great courage, but for now, you must stay here." He rose and began preparing gear. Blades, a small plasma rifle, an old human, communicator. He paused, looking at Mia. "Do you know where they took your father?" Mia thought hard. There was a big ship, with a symbol. A red claw. Kael's eyes darkened. The red claw. It was the mark of Varnock warlord Draxon, one of the most feared leaders. This would not be easy. He knelt again. You must rest. I will bring your father back. Mia hugged him suddenly. Thank you. For the first time in years, Cale felt something warm inside, a spark of connection. He gently hugged her back. Then he turned, weapons ready. As he moved toward the tunnel exit, one thought echoed in his mind. You will not take this family from me. Not this time. Outside, the storm had begun, and the hunt was far from over. A safe place? Cale moved quickly through the narrow tunnels, his footsteps light, his senses sharp. The ancient resistance base was deep underground, a labyrinth of old corridors and forgotten chambers. Few knew of its existence now, and that gave them a small chance. Behind him, Mia lay wrapped in a warm blanket on a cot. Despite her exhaustion, sleep did not come easily. Her small hands clutched a worn cloth doll. Her thoughts were on her father. Cale had promised to find Eric. Now he had to plan carefully. The Varnock would not rest until they found the child, and rescuing a prisoner from Draxon's war camp was nearly impossible. Cale entered a control room filled with dusty equipment. He powered up an old console. The screen flickered to life. With a few swift taps, he accessed the nearby comm signals. His eyes narrowed as he intercepted a Varnock transmission. The human mail is secured. Prepare for transport to Central Outpost. Cale frowned. The Central Outpost was a fortress. If Eric reached it, rescue would be almost hopeless. He had to act fast. As he scanned the signals, another voice echoed through the room. Soft, small. Sir? Mia stood at the doorway, eyes wide. Cale turned. You should be resting. Mia shook her head. I want to help. Papa would say. We are strongest together. Kyle was silent for a moment. Such bravery in one so young. Finally, he nodded. Then listen closely, he said. Your knowledge may help me. Mia climbed onto a seat beside him. Cale showed her a map of the region. Do you remember where you and your father were before the hunters came? Mia pointed to a spot near the swamp. Here. We heard their ships before we ran. Cale cross-referenced this with the Varnock patrol routes. He spotted a pattern, a hidden landing zone nearby. It was likely the camp where Eric was now held. He rose. This is where I must go, but I need to know if your father carries a beacon, a small device perhaps on his belt. Mia thought hard. Yes. Papa showed it to me once. He said, if we get lost, it will call help. Kyle smiled faintly. Good. If it is still active, I can track him. He activated a scanner and soon found a faint signal. Eric's beacon was transmitting weakly from the Varnock camp. Outside, the storm raged harder. Lightning flashed across the sky. The perfect cover for an infiltration. Cale prepared for the mission. He strapped on lightweight armor, concealed weapons, and a stealth cloak. He handed Mia a small comm device. This will let us speak, he said. You must stay here. If danger comes, hide. Mia hesitated, then nodded. Please. Bring Papa back. Cale placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. I will. With that, he vanished into the tunnels. Outside, the forest had turned wild. Rain poured down in sheets. Thunder rolled across the sky. Cale moved like a shadow among the trees, unseen and unheard. He reached a ridge overlooking the Varnock camp. Through the mist, he saw the enemy base, tents, landing ships, guards with pulse rifles. In the center, a large cage held the prisoners. Cale's eyes locked onto a familiar figure inside. Eric. The man was bruised but alive. He sat upright, defiant though chained. Cale studied the guards' movements. They were many, but sloppy, overconfident. He waited for the storm to peak, then moving with precision, he slipped into the camp. One by one, he took down outer guards using silent strikes. Each enemy fell without a sound. Near the cage, a larger figure appeared, Draxon himself. The warlord was massive, armored in crimson, plates. He paced before the prisoners, speaking in a guttural voice. Soon you will be moved to my fortress, Draxon growled. Resistance is useless. Eric spat at his feet. You'll never win. Draxon laughed coldly. You humans are always so hopeful. Kale's grip on his blade tightened. The time was near. He activated a small drone and sent it flying above. It projected a false signal, drawing several guards away, with the path clear. Kale moved in. He reached the cage and disabled the lock with a quiet pulse. Eric looked up, stunned. Who? Friend, Kyle whispered. No time. Move. Eric hesitated only a moment. Then he followed Kyle out of the cage. Alarms blared suddenly. The false signal had been discovered. Draxon roared. Find them! Kyle led Eric through the storm-drenched forest. Behind them, the Varnock pursued with fury. At one point, Eric stumbled. Kale caught him. Keep moving, Kale urged. Your daughter waits. Hope surged through Eric's tired body. Mia, she's alive? Yes. Safe. But not for long unless we escape. The chase became a desperate sprint through the night. As lightning flashed, Kyle sensed a deeper danger. Draxon himself had joined the hunt. The warlord would not stop. Now Kale knew one thing clearly. This was no longer just about saving Eric. It was about saving a family, and perhaps something greater. The rescue mission, Kale and Eric ran through the rain-soaked forest, breathless, each footstep sinking into the mud. Lightning ripped the sky in jagged lines. Behind them, loud roars and clicks echoed. The Varnock were closing, and Kale's sharp eyes scanned the dark woods. There was a narrow ravine ahead, a chance to lose their pursuers. This way, Kale said quickly. Eric's chest burned, every muscle screaming, but the thought of Mia waiting gave him strength. She's alive. You saved her? He gasped. Yes, Kale replied. She is safe for now. We must survive to reach her. They reached the ravine. Kale leapt first, landing with silent grace. Eric followed, slipping but catching himself. Above, crimson beams cut through the rain. Varnock searchlights. Kale pressed a device against the rocky wall. A hidden panel opened, a narrow side tunnel only he knew. Inside, Kyle whispered. They squeezed through just as the searchlights passed overhead. In the darkness, Kyle tapped his comm. Mia, do you hear me? Static crackled, then a small voice replied. Yes, I hear you. Relief flickered in Kale's eyes. Your father is with me. We are coming. Papa? Mia's voice trembled. I'm here, sweetheart, Eric said, voice thick with emotion. We'll be together soon. Mia sniffled. I miss you. Stay strong, my brave girl. The signal faded. Kyle turned to Eric. They will send more. Draxon himself is hunting us now. Eric clenched his fists. Then we fight. Kyle studied him, a simple human yet unbroken. Such spirit reminded him why he had chosen to help. We fight smart, Kale said. Come. They moved through the tunnel. Kale handed Eric a compact plasma pistol. I am no soldier, Eric said. You are a father, Kale replied. That is enough. Above ground, Draxon stormed through the forest, rage burning in his eyes. They have help, he snarled to his second-in-command. Find them. Burn the forest if you must. Scouts spread out, drones scanning every path. But Kyle was ready. He led Eric to an old resistance outpost, half buried beneath roots and stone. Inside, he activated ancient defenses. We will rest here briefly, Kyle said, then move at dawn. Eric slumped against a wall, exhaustion finally catching him. Who are you? He asked. Kale hesitated. For years he had avoided this truth. I was once a warrior, fought to protect life. But war took everything from me. He looked at Eric. Your daughter reminded me why we fight. Eric's voice softened. Thank you. I owe you everything. Kale shook his head. You owe me nothing, but we must be ready. Dawn brings new danger. Hours passed. The storm eased, but tension grew. Just before dawn, Kale activated an old sensor. A warning flashed. Draxon's forces were moving fast, narrowing in on Mia's location. Kale cursed softly. They have traced us. Eric stood. We have to get to her. Yes, Kale said, but not alone. He activated a beacon, an old resistance frequency. Far away, a faint reply came. An allied ship in orbit. One of the last human vessels. Help is coming, Kale said, but we must hold until then. They gathered weapons, set traps, and prepared for the final run. Meanwhile, Mia sat in the hidden base, clutching her comm device. Suddenly, red lights flickered at the tunnel entrance. A shadow moved. Mia's heart pounded. The door began to shake. Varnock scouts were trying to force it open. Mia pressed the comm. Kale! They're here! Kale heard her call. Hold on, Mia. We are coming. He and Eric moved like shadows through the forest, every step driven by urgency. As they neared the hidden base, Kale signaled Eric. They will expect me. Take this path. Free your daughter. I will draw them away. Eric hesitated. But trust me. Kale broke cover, drawing fire. Plasma bolts hissed past him. Over here, he shouted, leading the Varnock away. Inside the base, Mia hid, behind crates as the door finally gave way. A tall Varnock entered, snarling. Just as it reached for her, a blast struck it down. Eric had arrived. Papa! Mia cried. Eric scooped her up. I've got you. Father and daughter reunited at last. But the battle was not over. Outside, Kale faced Draxon himself. The warlord towered over him. Traitor, Draxon growled. You side with the weak. Kale drew his blade. I side with life. They clashed, sparks flying in the dawn light. Meanwhile, Eric and Mia ran toward the extraction point. Above, the Allied ship arrived, blasting Varnock forces. Kyle, wounded but unbroken, joined them at the landing site. As the ship lifted off, Draxon roared below, defeated. For now. Safe aboard the ship, Mia hugged Kale tightly. Thank you, she whispered. Kale, weary and scarred, managed a small smile. We are family now. And so, as stars filled the view, a new bond was forged. A family born of courage, sacrifice, and hope. But Kale knew deep down, the war was far from over. Family under fire, the ship soared through the sky, its engines humming softly. Inside the cabin, Eric held Mia close, tears streaming down his face. You are safe now, he whispered, his voice shaking. I'm here. I'm so sorry. Mia clung to him tightly. I knew you would come. Kyle sat nearby, watching silently. The sight of father and daughter together stirred something deep inside him. A memory of a life he had lost. A family taken by war. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose return. But the moment of peace was short. The pilot's voice crackled through the comm. We have incoming. Varnock warships approaching fast. Kale's eyes narrowed. They will not let us go so easily. He stood, moving to the weapons station. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, he told the pilot. I will handle the defense. Eric looked up. What can I do? Kale glanced at him. Protect your daughter. That is your greatest task. Outside the viewport, 3 crimson Varnock ships appeared, their cannons glowing. They are locking on, the pilot warned. Kyle activated the ship's defense turrets. Plasma bolts lit up the sky as the battle began. Inside the cabin, Mia watched with wide eyes. Will we be okay, Papa? Eric hugged her tighter. We will. Kyle won't let anything happen to us. Kale's movements were swift and precise. He fired at the nearest ship, disabling its engines. But the other 2 closed in, relentless. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. An enemy blast had struck the rear thrusters. We've lost power to main engines, the pilot shouted. Kale cursed under his breath. Prepare for emergency landing. The ship spiraled downward, smoke trailing behind. Hold on, Kale called. With a final burst of skill, the pilot guided the ship toward a dense forest. It crashed through the trees, skidding to a halt in a clearing. Silence followed. Kyle rose first, checking his weapons. "Is everyone all right?" he asked. Eric coughed, holding Mia. "We're okay." Mia looked at Kyle. "Are we safe?" Kyle's gaze hardened. "No. They will come." He moved to the hatch and looked out. In the distance, he saw dropships descending. Varnock ground forces. "We must move now." He led them into the forest, every sense alert. As they ran, Eric asked, "Why do they want us so badly?" Kyle replied grimly, "You are symbols of resistance, and me. I am a traitor to them." They reached an old human bunker hidden beneath roots and rocks. Kale activated the entrance with an ancient code. Inside, they found supplies and weapons. Kale began setting traps around the perimeter. "We make our stand here," he said. Mia sat beside her father. "I'm scared." Eric stroked her hair. "Bravery isn't about not being scared. It's about protecting what matters, even when you are." Kyle overheard this and nodded. "Your father speaks true." As night fell, the sound of Varnock forces grew closer. Heavy footsteps, mechanical growls. Inside the bunker, Kyle handed Eric a plasma rifle. "You may not be a soldier," he said, "but you fight for your family. That makes you stronger than most." Eric gripped the weapon. "I will not let them take her." Mia looked at Kyle. "You're part of our family now." Those simple words struck Kyle deeply. For so long, he had been alone. Now, these humans had opened their hearts to him. He knelt beside her. "Then I will fight as family." Suddenly, alarms blared. The Varnock had found them. Kale moved swiftly, activating the traps. Explosions rocked the forest as several enemies were taken down. But more kept coming. Kale, Eric, and the pilot fought side by side, plasma bolts lighting up the night. Mia stayed, hidden, clutching her calm. Amid the chaos, a towering figure emerged, Draxon himself. His voice thundered. "Kyle, come face me, coward." Kale's eyes blazed. "Stay here," he told Eric. "Protect Mia." He stepped into the clearing. Draxon laughed. "You defend weaklings now?" Kale drew his blade. "I defend what matters." They clashed, sparks flying, strength against skill. Inside the bunker, Eric fought off Varnock soldiers trying to breach the entrance. Each shot counted, each moment precious. Mia's voice called out, "Papa, behind you!" Eric turned just in time, taking down another attacker. Outside, the battle between Kale and Draxon raged. Though wounded, Kale fought with fierce determination. Finally, with a swift strike, he forced Draxon back. Sirens wailed in the distance. Human resistance forces were arriving, drawn by Kale's earlier signal. Seeing reinforcements coming, Draxon snarled. "This is not over." He retreated, his forces following. Kyle staggered back to the bunker. Eric met him at the entrance. "You did it." Mia ran to Kyle, hugging him. "You're hurt." Kyle smiled faintly. "Nothing that will stop me." As dawn broke, human forces secured the area. For now, they were safe. Inside the bunker, Kale looked at Eric and Mia. "You showed great courage," he said. Eric replied, "Because you showed us the way." Mia smiled. "We're family now. Forever." Kale's heart, long hardened by loss, opened once more. He placed a hand on Mia's shoulder. Yes, forever. But in the shadows of space, Draxon plotted his next move. The fight was far from over. The final stand, the rising sun cast pale light through the dense forest. Smoke drifted in the air from the battle of the night before. Fallen Varnock soldiers lay scattered among broken trees and burnt earth. But this was not the end. Deep underground, in the reinforced bunker, Kale stood over a holographic map. His face was grim. Beside him, Eric and Mia watched silently. "They will come again," Kyle said, "and this time in greater numbers." Eric clenched his fists. "We can't run forever." Kale nodded. "No, we fight. Here." Mia looked between them. "Will we win?" Kale knelt beside her. Winning is not always about victory, little one. It is about standing for what is right. Together. Above, Allied human forces had begun setting up defenses, turrets, barriers, traps. Word of Kyle's stand had spread. More fighters arrived to join him, yet Kyle knew that Draxon would bring his full army. And in space, the Varnock flagship loomed, preparing for one final assault. Kyle turned to Eric. You and Mia must stay, in the deepest part of the bunker. If I fall— No, Eric interrupted. We fight as one. Kyle met his eyes. After a moment, he nodded. Then, prepare. Hours passed. Tension thickened the air. Mia helped where she could, carrying, supplies passing tools. Her small hands trembled, but her spirit was unbroken. At dusk, the ground shook. Draxon had arrived. His voice thundered through loudspeakers. Humans! Kyle, surrender, or be destroyed. Kyle stepped onto the ramparts. We will not surrender. Draxon sneered. Then you will die. Dropships descended, disgorging waves of Varnock soldiers. Tanks rumbled forward. The forest became a battlefield once more. Kale led the charge, blade and plasma rifle in hand. Eric fought at his side, every shot driven by love for his daughter. Mia, hidden deep within the bunker, whispered into the comm. Be careful, Papa, be careful, Kale. Her voice gave them strength. The battle raged through the night. Allied forces fought fiercely, but the Varnock numbers were overwhelming. At one point, a breach occurred. Varnock stormed the bunker entrance. Kyle, sensing the danger, broke from the front lines. With swift strikes, he cleared the passage. But then, shadow loomed. Draxon himself entered, eyes blazing. Traitor, he growled. Your fight ends now. Kale faced him, blade ready. It ends when freedom lives. Their duel began, savage, brutal. Sparks flew, metal clashed. Outside, Eric and the others fought to hold the line. Inside the bunker, Mia huddled, listening. Tears streamed down her face. You can do it, Kale. The battle reached its peak. Kale, wounded, drove Draxon back with a flurry of strikes, but Draxon was too strong. With a powerful blow, he knocked Kale down. Weak, Draxon spat. From the shadows, a small voice cried out. He is not weak. Mia stood in the doorway, defiant. Draxon turned. Child. But before he could strike, Eric appeared, firing, a blast into Draxon's side. Kale, summoning his last strength, rose. With a final blazing strike, he drove his blade into Draxon's chest. The warlord roared, then fell. Silence fell over the battlefield. Outside, seeing their leader defeated, the Varnock forces retreated. Victory. Later, in the quiet dawn, Kale sat beside Mia and Eric. His wounds were tended, but his spirit felt lighter. Mia held his hand. You saved us. Kale smiled faintly. You saved me, gave me a reason to fight again. Eric placed a hand on Kyle's shoulder. You are family now. Forever. Kale looked at them, eyes soft. Then I will protect this family. Always. Above, the stars shone brightly, but Kale knew. Peace would need defending. And he was ready. A new family, the battle was over, but the forest still carried the heavy scent of smoke and burnt metal. The bodies of Varnock soldiers lay scattered, their crimson ships abandoned. The Allied human forces moved through the wreckage, clearing the area, securing the victory that had seemed impossible just a day before. Deep inside the bunker, Kale sat quietly, his wounds wrapped, though his body still ached. More than the pain, it was the weight of what had happened that filled his mind. He had faced his greatest enemy and survived. But more than that, he had found something he never thought he would again. A family. Soft footsteps echoed in the corridor. Mia appeared, her small face peeking around the corner. Kyle, she whispered. He looked up, a rare smile touching his lips. Yes, little one. Mia hurried to his side and hugged him tightly. You're safe. Kyle gently placed a hand, on her head. Thanks to you and your father. Eric entered behind her, weary but smiling. You saved us all, he said. Cale shook his head slowly. We saved each other. They sat together in the quiet room, the sounds of the Allied cleanup fading in the distance. Outside, the sun rose, painting the forest in golden light. For the first time in many cycles, Cale felt something he thought lost: hope. But the moment of peace was interrupted by a call on the comm. Cale, the Allied commander said. Satellite scans show a small Varnock force moving toward your location. Survivors seeking revenge. Cale stood slowly. We must be ready. Eric frowned. We can't fight them all again. Cale looked at him calmly. No, this time, we will do something different. He activated the old resistance signal tower within the bunker, sending a message across nearby sectors. Soon, responses came. Resistance fighters, old allies, even rival alien groups tired of the Varnock oppression. Within hours, a small fleet arrived in orbit, ground forces deployed, ready to defend the forest and the new family that now symbolized hope. Mia watched the ships arrive, eyes wide. They're here to help? Cale knelt beside her. Because you and your father showed them that hope is worth fighting for. Together, they prepared defenses, not to destroy but to protect. When the Varnock survivors arrived, they were met not by a broken group, but by a united force. Seeing the strength arrayed against them, the Varnock leader hesitated. Cale stepped forward, voice steady. Enough blood has been spilled. Leave now or face the full force of those you have wronged. After a long pause, the Varnock withdrew. The war in this part of the galaxy was over, for now. Days later, a ceremony was held among the trees. Cale stood with Eric and Mia before the Allied Council. For your courage and unity, the commander said, you are honored as symbols of our fight for peace. Mia held Kyle's hand tightly. We are a family now, she whispered. Kyle's voice was soft. Yes, always, Eric smiled. We have much to rebuild. Kyle nodded. Then we rebuild together. As weeks passed, Cale found himself no longer the lone warrior of old. He helped teach young fighters, guided by the lessons of the past. He built a new home with Eric and Maya, a place where hope could grow. Often, at night, he would sit beneath the stars with Mia on his lap. Do you miss your old family? She asked once. Cale's heart ached, but he smiled. I did. But now, I have a new one. Mia hugged him. I'm glad. So was Cale. In a galaxy still filled with danger, they had found something worth more than any battle. Love, trust, and a bond that no enemy could break. As the stars shone above, Kyle knew one truth. This was only the beginning. Together, they would face whatever came next. As a family. The end.